With summer just around the corner, there's no better way to entertain the kids than having a gigantic 4-in-a-row game board to have in the backyard for the kids. Let me show you how I made it. The first step in doing this project was taking 2 sheets of plywood and cutting them 63.5 by 43 inches. And I used a panel saw to cut the 63.5 with the 2 sheets, and then I took the plywood over to the table saw to cut the 43. Alright, so that is 5.25, 14.25, 23.25, 32.25, 41.25, 50.25, and 59.25. After marking along the 63.5 inch line all of my center points for my holes, I took the T-square and I marked the lines across the board. Okay, we're going to do that, and that is 4.5, 11.5, 18.5, 25.5, 32.5, and 39.5. Okay. Now I just mark the center of each hole so I can put the drill to it. Okay, with the layout complete and all the holes marked, it was time to drill. And drill, and drill some more. 84 holes was a lot of drilling to do with a 6-inch hole saw, but it was sure a lot easier than any other method that I could think of. So now, with all of those drilled, we can move to the next step. Now that all the holes are finished, I'm coming back with my trim router with a 1/4-inch roundover bit to be able to smooth the hole openings on all 84 holes. And I'm doing this on both sides of the plywood. Wow, after 84 holes being drilled and doing a roundover bit on all of them, I think it's time for a break. The bulk of the project now is done. The rest part is going to be easy. To cut the 2 uprights, I set my miter saw to 55 inches. And here I will cut 2 2x4s. The 2 2x4s that I'm cutting here are used for the upright, be on the left and right of the game board. Now I move my stop down to 17 inches. With the 17-inch set, I'm cutting the cross braces. I'm cutting the ends off at 45-degree angles. Then I'm moving down to my 17-inch stop and making my cut again at the 45. This will be my support braces to support the uprights. Next, I moved over to the table saw and cut my 2-inch wide by 43-inch long strips. Okay, it was time to mount those 2-inch wide strips, and they had to be marked and measured very carefully and positioned right dead center between the holes. I used glue and I used staples to be able to secure those in place. At the table saw, I cut strips of 7-inch wide to make the disc for the game board. All these were cut 7-inch by 7-inch. I used the easel software in my X-Carve to lay out the 7-inch holes to be able to cut all of the disc exactly the same so that they would work smoothly through the game board. I want to round over the ends of the feet on this so that somebody doesn't get hurt. So I'm just going to simply mark this with the tape and take it over to the bandsaw and cut that off. The bandsaw works real well for this operation, to be able to cut this radius, to be able to have the feet rounded off. However, if you don't have a bandsaw, you could easily do this with a jigsaw just as well. After cutting on the bandsaw, I took the feet over to the oscillating sander and smoothed the ends up. And then from there, I took it over to the router table and put a radius around it just to smooth off the edges and make it a little bit nicer. Okay, what I'm going to do is use the correct jig and put some holes into the side of these braces to be able to screw in. And I've set the jig up where this is for 1.5 inch material, and I did the same thing with the bit using this guide. So I'm just going to clamp it in. We're going to use one hole that we're going to put in here, and then my second hole will be through the end. Okay, and I'm going to flip it around, and we'll put one on the opposite side, but basically the same location. Okay, and we'll repeat this now for the other pieces. Okay, what I'm going to do is take these feet now and go ahead and do my layouts so I can put my upright piece in and my braces in. And to do that, the first thing I want to do is find the center. So to be able to do that, as you've seen in my other videos, I just hold my ruler at an angle, and I want to divide it in half. So I have it 0 right here. I have it over here at 8 inches. So half of that is 4. So there's no complicated math in being able to divide this out to be able to get my center. So I'm going to do the same thing down here. 1 or the 0 and the 8. Mark my 4, and that gives me my center line. And then I can take my straight edge, line it up on my 2 points, and draw a line. And that gives me the center of the board. I know that this is 3 feet long, so half of 3 feet is 18 inches. So there is that. So that gives me my center point on my board. Now then, 2x4 is 3.5 inches, and this 2x4 is actually 3 3/8. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just be able to get this to line up now on that center line, and I'll mark my 2x4, and then I'll position where my 2 braces will go. Okay. Now to lay out my second one, because I have my first one completed now, exactly where my 2x4 upright is going to go, I just marked my center line on this second one. I'm going to move it over to where my center line matches. There we go. There's my center line here and on this one. Now then, I know exactly where the end of my 2x4 is going to be. So that saves you an extra step too. The other thing that I want to do is go ahead and mark my 1.5 inches. So that would be 3/4 of an inch on each side of my center line. And I marked it right there. Same thing on this side. And now I have my layout complete with where my 2x4 will be on my second piece. The other thing that I want to do is put a couple of pilot holes in here that I have marked on my first piece. And I'm just going to transfer that over to the other one. And that way there's really no measuring involved with a tape measure, and my layout's done. Okay, for this step on the assembly, I'm going to be using the deck screws that are 3 inches long. And to be able to help with the alignment, because this is going to be rather difficult to do, what I did is went ahead and extended my line from the edge of my 2x4 and clamped a block of wood on each end. And then by doing so, I can just simply set it on the edge of the workbench. And now I have it where all I need to do is align the 2x4 that's sitting on the workbench and it's perfectly aligned. So what I'm going to do now is take the 3-inch screw and screw it into the bottom, and that will be secure. That's number 1. And there we have it. Now the next thing I can do, I'm going to remove that first one, and I can set on this block, and again my alignment will be correct, and I'll be able to screw in the screw in here for my Craig's jig, and I can also screw in one of the screws vertically down through here, and I'll be able to use the same thing, a 3-inch screw. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and do that now. There we go. And I'll do the same thing up here on the top side. There we go. And that is completed. Now I'll repeat that on the other side, and I'll add my screws into here. And then we'll have this side completed. One of the things I want to do is go ahead and fill this hole. And one of the simplest ways is just to use a 3/8-inch dowel rod. And it slips right in like that. And I'm going to get my measurement that I'm going to need. And I'm going to cut enough of these for every hole that I have on these 2 uprights. I'm going to slide them in, glue them in place. Okay, one of the things that I'm going to try that I've worked out real well is cutting from this angle instead of from the side. And it cuts even faster and smoother. So that's definitely the way to do it. After adding some paint, it was time to secure the uprights to the game board. And what I did is I used 3 2.5-inch screws to attach the uprights to each side. The last thing that I did is I added this little trap door at the bottom with 2 2.5-inch hinges and the little screen door hooks to be able to hold it closed while the game is being played. Here's a look at the finished game board, all ready for action now. Thank you for watching today. I enjoyed making this project, and if you enjoyed it as much as I did, please hit the like button. Also, leave me a comment. And also tell me what type of projects that you would like to see me do in the future. And subscribe to my channel. Next to the subscribe button is a little bell. Click on that and you'll be notified every time I update a new video. I'm trying to update videos at least once a week, and if you've noticed, there's times when I've been able to upload more than one a week. So if you hit that little bell, you'll be notified each and every time that I upload a video. So until next time, have fun, be safe, and take care now.